are going to start chapter 2. Usually this is a little bit easier. Chapter 1 has a lot of the hard stuff in it, the word problems that everyone hates. We have a lot with all of our inequalities and things like that. Chapter 2, we are going to look at a lot of function things. So tomorrow we'll be starting with functions. Today we kind of have a topic that sits by itself. We don't do a ton with it, but that's circles. I don't think you really get this any other time, so I want to make sure that we are at least familiar with what a circle looks like, what the equation looks like. So it shows up on the ACT sometimes. The definition of a circle is just a set of points on our XY plane that are a fixed distance r from a fixed point HK. Alright, what that means is if we have our XY plane, a circle is everything that is the same distance away from one point. Okay, we know what a circle looks like, right? So this point right here is called my center. That's the order pair HK. R is how far it is from the center to the edge of the circle. That's your radius. So the circle is made up of every point that is r units away from the center. Big thing you need to know is what that formula looks like and how to find the center and radius. So that's where we're going to start. The formula might be written two different ways. The first one is known as center radius form. That's also called standard form. And it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Remember, hk is the center, r is the radius. So if I said like x minus 2 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 81. That's a circle with a center of 2, what would the y value be? -3, because the formula should have a minus. So if it's a plus, it's the opposite. The radius, 81 is r squared, so the radius is 9. So it's a center of 2, -3, radius of 9. When you have that x and y both squared, that's the most likely the situation where we're looking at a circle. General form is what you get if you multiply the whole thing out and set it equal to 0. You won't see that as often, but it can certainly happen. I don't really care about the order of the terms, but basically just know you multiply it out, set it equal to 0. And we will talk about that as well. So, first, let's just practice writing the equation. So if I want the equation of a circle that has a radius of 5 and a center of -3, 6. So center of radius, that's the x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So what would I write? In this order pair, h is the x value, k is the y value. So x plus 3 squared equals r squared would be 25. You guys do B. Alright, so you should have gotten x minus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 9. All good with that? Any questions about writing that? For graphing them, to do it by hand, we just start at the center and then count our radius out every direction. On a graphing calculator, it has to be written in function form, so you'd actually have to solve for your y, and in doing that, you'll get a plus and a minus, so you have to enter two different equations. Really no situation where we would have to enter it on a graphing calculator, but helpful for an ACT or something if you needed to. So if I asked you to graph this, we need to know the center and the radius. What is my center? 3, 2. What is the radius? Okay, so I'm going to draw myself a graph. Start with a dot at -3, +2. That's our center, and then we go 4 every direction. So 4 above, below, right and left. Now obviously I am freehanding this and my picture is far from perfect. Mine looks a little more like a football, but as long as I can tell you tried, I'm going to look, are your points in the correct spot? Did you count 4 every direction? And that's what I'll be looking for there. All right. Is that one okay? Let's try it. Mine is slightly embarrassing, but it's close. It's roundish. Okay, let's try one more. What's wrong with this one? There's a 2. The equation of a circle can't have a coefficient, but can I fix it? Yeah, we can just divide everything by 2. So this is x minus 3 squared plus y squared equals 4. What is the center? 3, am I subtracting anything from my y? So it's a 0. My radius. 4 is what? There is my r squared, so the square root of 4 is 2. So to graph this, you have to start at the center. So the first thing we do is go to 3, 0, and put a point. Now, my radius is 2. So from that point that I plotted at my center, I'm going 2 every direction. Up, down, left, right. So that would give me my circle. Any issues with that stuff? Everything we've looked at so far has been center radius form. What if I asked you to write the general form? So we're never going to just look at it, me give you a center and radius, and you write the general form. You always have to start at center radius form. So if I ask for the general form of the equation of a circle whose center is 1, -2, and whose graph contains the point 4, -2. We need the center and radius. Can you tell me what the radius is? Yeah, you might have been able to. If you can't tell by looking at it, then we could draw ourselves a quick graph. If we're at 1, -2, the point 4, -2 is on my circle. How far apart are those? 3. So my radius is 3. So my equation, x minus h, so x minus 1 squared, y minus k, so y plus 2 squared, equals r squared, so 3 squared would be 9. General form says multiply this all out. So when you have x minus 1 squared, That means we have 2 of them. So if we FOIL, we get x squared minus 2x plus 1. Y plus 2 squared. Because we have 2 of them, so FOIL that out. So we get y squared plus 2y, and plus 2y would be a 4y plus 4. And we could subtract over our 9 if we wanted. So it has to be multiplied out and equal to 0. Now, after that, I don't really care what order these terms are in, but you do need to combine like terms. So all we can really combine there would be all of our coefficients. So I have x squared minus 2x plus y squared plus 4y. 1 plus 4 minus 9 would be minus 4. So multiply it out, equal it to 0, combine my terms. Why don't you guys try me? Formula. So x minus h, x minus 0 would just be x squared. Wrote it out, that's fine. Plus y minus 2 squared equals 2 squared, which is 4. So if you FOIL, we have x squared plus y squared minus 4y. What happens when I subtract over my 4? So equals 0. Any questions there? The last thing I want to do is start with something written in general form and figure out if it's the equation of a circle. So to do that, we have to figure out, can I go back to center radius form? And it's going to involve completing the square here. So, if I were to try to get this back to center radius form, I'm going to put my x's together, I'm going to leave a little space. I'm going to group my y's together, leave a little space, and I'm going to move my constant to the other side. Because in center radius form you have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So you have a parenthesis with x, parenthesis with y equals the constant. We did complete the square in the last chapter. So remember, we need to make this so that it can be factored as a perfect square. So to do that, we have to take our middle term, which was positive 10, divide it by 2, and square it. So 10 divided by 2, 5 squared. But if I add 25 to one side of my equation, add it to the other, because we can't change the problem. Does everyone remember how we got that, how we got to 25? We do the same thing with our y's. So we had a negative 4 divided by 2 squared. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is, so we add 4 to both sides. Alright, so this would factor into x plus square root of 25 is 5 squared. This one would be y with a minus, and the square root of 4 is 2 squared. What do we get over here? Negative 4. Okay, so I'm trying to decide if this is a circle. If I look at it, my center would be what? Okay, but what would my radius be? Remember, this is r squared. So if I square root, what am I getting? 2i. Can we have an imaginary? No. So what do you think that tells me? Is this a circle, a point, or non-existent? Non-existent. That's going to be the case any time if you've completed the square and you have a negative number over here. Okay, if we have a positive, it's a circle. Because even if it's not nice, if it were a 10, that just means your radius is the square root of 10. So it doesn't have to be a perfect square, it just has to be positive to be a circle. Alright, we are just going to do these until we are confident. This is the last type of problem, probably the most complicated ones here, so let's practice a few. What's wrong with this one? It's not in the right order. We'll have to group our x's together. Also, if we're going to complete the square, it has to be a 1x squared and a 1y squared. So how would I fix it? Okay, everything gets divided by 2. So then we can group our x's together, leave a little space, group your y's together, leave a little space, equals our 1/2. So to complete the square, the middle number, so -3, divided by 2, and squared it. -3 over 2 doesn't reduce. If I just square, we get 9 over 4. And if you add it to one side, we add it to the other. We do the same thing with the next term. So 5y, so 5 over 2 squared. It doesn't reduce, so just square top and bottom. So that would be 25 over 4. Add it to one side, so you add it to the other. Now we factor them. So what would the first one factor into? It's that number after you divided by 2, but before you squared it. Here it would be y plus 5 equals 36 over 4. Is that right? So, can you tell me, is this one a circle? Yeah, we got a positive number over here, so it is a circle. What would my center be?
3 over 2, -5 over 2.
My radius is the square root of this, which would be, so we can go ahead and reduce that. Whoops, so it turns into 9, and that reduces to the square root is 3. Any questions there? Let's do one more for sure. Okay. Do you guys want to try it on your own first, or should we do it together? Try it? Okay. Group your x's together, group your y's together, bring your 10 to the other side. Completing the square, so -6 divided by 2 is -3, squared is 9, so add 9 to both sides. 2 divided by 2 is 1, squared is 1, so add 1 to both sides. So this factors into x minus 3 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 0. So it exists. If you go to write this, we have a center 3, -1. What's our radius? Okay, can you draw a circle with a radius of 0? No. If I go 3, -1, there's my center. If the radius is 0, that means nothing else is included. So what is this? Single point. So if it's equal to a positive, it's a circle. A negative doesn't exist. 0 gives us a single point. Do we need to do another one of these? Okay. So, we are at the end of this section of your assignment. I printed it on here, but do you guys remember what's EOO? Every other odd. So it's not that many problems. Like 7 problems. I'm going to hand back your test.